All right, guys, let's take a moment to talk about chord symbols. What are they and how do we use them? There are three ways of labeling and identifying chords: the figured bass, the root quality chord symbols, and the functional chord symbols. To use these properly and with ease, you do need a good foundation and a good understanding of chords. Specifically, we're talking about triads. So you need to know what intervals make up those triads. You need to know how to find your root easily, as well as being able to identify your inversion easily. If you don't yet have these skills developed, you can learn about these in level 6, 7, and 8 theory books through the RCM. So I definitely recommend checking those out before this. Let's start with the most widely used way of identifying chords, not just in classical music, but also in pop and jazz: the root quality chord symbol. So these get placed above the staff, just above the chord. These symbols tell us exactly what the chord is. It's going to identify the chord's root, as well as the quality and the inversion. That is it. It is telling you what it is. It's telling you its root, and it's telling you its quality. So how do we label them? Well, if it's a major triad, you're going to use just a capital letter. If it's a minor triad, use a capital letter with a lowercase m to represent minor. If it's an augmented triad, use a capital letter with a superscript plus. Now be careful here, because back in the day, some people used that plus symbol to identify major keys. The augmented specifically uses a superscript plus, so don't confuse the two. If it's a diminished triad, we're going to use a capital letter and a superscript 0. Seventh chords I'm not going to talk about too much in this video. I am going to throw up a legend for you so you can see how we label these, but I will talk about these at another time. What if the chord is not in root position? Well, you label the chord the same way by pairing the root and the quality together, and then add a slash and label the bass note. Remember, if any of these notes are flats or sharps, you do need to include that accidental when labeling, so keep that in mind. Next up is your functional chord symbols. These are used most often in the RCM Harmony books, and that's because they not only identify the quality of the chord, they also identify its root and tell us how the chord functions in relation to the key we're in. This is going to help us a lot when we're planning out our phrasing and using tonal hierarchy. So if we're in C major and see a G chord, we know that this is the dominant, which is a place of tension in the phrase and often used at a cadence point. Or if we see a 4 chord, we'll be able to identify our key by finding a perfect fourth below the root of that chord. This is especially helpful when we're modulating. These symbols get placed below the staff and below the chord. Major and augmented chords are going to be used capital letters. The augmented is going to have that superscript plus again, just like you did with the root qualities. Your minor and diminished chords are going to use lowercase letters, and that diminished is again going to have that superscript 0 you used with root quality chord symbols. So when we're indicating inversions with these chord symbols, we're going to use numbers. Triads that are in root position don't have numbers, or you may occasionally see a 5-3. The 5 and the 3 represents the interval of the two notes above the bass note. We use a 6 to indicate first inversion triads, and we use a 6-4 to indicate a second inversion triad. Seventh chords I'm going to throw on the screen for you as a reference, but again, not getting into those in this video. Figured bass is the final way to identify chords in the RCM Harmony series. These are a series of numbers similar to what you use with functional chord symbols. It's used as a shorthand written below a single bass line when we're in keyboard style. So you're going to end up writing a 3-note chord up in the right hand or on the top staff. If there is no number below the bass note, or a 5-3 or a 7, that chord's in root position. So the bass is the root of the chord. If there is a 6, that triad's in first inversion, just like root quality, and the bass is going to be the third of your triad. If there's a 6-4, the triad is in second inversion, and the bass is going to be the fifth of the chord. If you ever see numbers outside of these, you're going to use the bass as your guide and find the given interval above that note. So let's say that it asks for 7 and 4 above C. You're going to write a B flat for 7 and an F for 4. If you ever see an accidental in these symbols, it means that you need to alter a note. So if you see a sharp or a flat without a number, that's telling us to alter the third above the bass. If the accidental is beside a number, that is the interval that you're going to alter. An easy way to memorize these, again, is just to remember that these numbers represent intervals above the bass note, not above the root, above the bass. And that is it. That is a quick and easy intro to the 3 ways to label triads. Remember that the trick to truly understanding harmony is by understanding how things function alone. So what is that chord? And how does it function in relationship to what's happening around it? Things are usually not random. So if it's feeling that way when you're writing or analyzing, take a step back and review. If you have any questions, please pop me a message. I'll do my best to help. And good luck as you continue working through that harmony material.